Time having arrived, I call this meeting the City Council to order. Will you please stand and join me in saluting the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilors, before we begin, due to the extreme heat, if you feel the need to take your coat off or anything like that, go right ahead. You know, we want you all present and able to vote. So if you'd like to take the coat off, please do. Mr. Clerk, item number 1.
Item 1, acceptance of the minutes of the June 27th, 2022 City Council meeting.
Accepted and placed on file.
Item 2, appointment of Ruth Moore of Brockton, Mass. To the Women's Commission for a 3-year term ending July 2025.
Referred to Finance.
Item number 3, appointment of Christina Derome of Brockton, Mass. To the License Commission for a 3-year term ending July 2025.
That is referred to Finance.
Item 4, appointment of Odawumi Olawayatun of Country Club Lane, Brockton, Mass. To the Women's Commission for a 3-year term ending July 2025.
That is referred to Finance.
Item number 5, appointment of Lawrence Jazuski of Brockton, Mass. To the Elections Commission for a 4-year term ending July 2026.
That is referred to Finance.
Appointment of Sandra Chatton of Northern Ave, Boston, Mass. To the position of Director of Human Resources for a 3-year term ending in July 2025.
That is referred to Finance.
Hearing number 7, petition of HMP Realty LLC, Mylord Holmesy of 540 High Street, Westwood, Mass. For a garage license transfer located at 955 Montello Street, Brockton, Mass. 02301. In City Clerk's Office, June 7th, 2022. Hearing assigned for July 25th, 2022. Fire Department has no objections. All paperwork is on file.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is there anyone here in favor? If so, come up and please give your name and address to the clerk.
Why?
Anyone in favor?
Why?
Because upstairs, the code enforcement.
Seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here in opposition?
Some things that they needed to do to make sure she does what she.
If not, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Councilors, the question comes on granting this garage license transfer.
Mr. President, just a point of information. Is anyone here representing that business?
I don't see
believe
them.
there is. You are more than welcome to postpone the item, to move it to the end of the agenda, whatever the will of the council is.
I would prefer not to set a precedent that we act without someone being here, so I would just ask for unanimous consent to allow it to go a little later and see if they come in.
Councilors, all in favor of leaving this to the end of the meeting? That is unanimous. We're moving this to the end of the meeting. Thank you, councilors.
Item number 8, petition of Strickland's Enterprise LLC of 301 North Main Street, Salem, North Carolina, for a motor vehicle mechanical repair license transfer located at 881 North Montello Street, Brockton, Mass. In City Clerk's Office, April 22nd, 2022. Hearing assigned for July 25th, 2022. Fire Department has no objections. All paperwork is on file.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is there anyone here in favor? If so, please come up and give your address to the clerk. How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good.
May I sit?
Yep, sit down, name and address to the clerk, and then take it away.
My name, right?
Yep.
All right. My name is Stephen Ortiz, and I'm here on behalf of Strickland Brothers Oil Changes. We at 881 North Montello Street in Brockton, but our corporate office is in 301 North Salem, 301 North Main Street, Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
All right. Councilor Azak.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I've been in contact with Mr. Ortiz, and this is just for a transfer of a license. And this location's really in a commercial area. I haven't received any complaints, and it's right next to the Kentucky Fried Chicken Taco Bell, right on North Montello. The business looks beautiful, and I hope my colleagues will vote favorably on this transfer.
Thank you.
With that, that's it.
Thank you, Counselor. Is there anyone else here in favor? Seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here in opposition? Seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed.
Mr. President,
Counselor Farwell.
could the clerk indicate what stipulations are carrying over since it's a transfer, just for the record?
There are none. This is actually a lubritorium, which generally does not need. It's a quick lube up on North Montello Street.
Lubritorium.
Lubritorium is the state definition for it.
Yes.
Okay.
However, there is a garage there, and occasionally they do some other things, so they have a motor vehicle repair license. Very little motor vehicle repair work is done there, so there are no stipulations.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Clerk.
I think you'd be familiar with the
Thank
building.
you for increasing my word power, too.
That is a state definition of a lubritorium.
Councilors, you'll excuse the smile on the president's face. Sorry, Councilor Farwell, are you satisfied?
I'm all set.
All right, councilors, the question comes on granting this motor vehicle repair license. Madam, there's a roll call vote. By roll,
All those in favor?
yep, all those in favor. All opposed? The license is approved.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Have a good day.
You too.
Item number 9, petition of Philip O'Connor of Trust Unlimited LLC for a secondhand article license located at 86 Intervale Street, Brockton, Mass. In City Clerk's Office, June 20, 2022. Hearing assigned for July 25th, 2022. All paperwork is on file.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is there anyone here in favor? If so, please give your name and address to the clerk.
Step right up
Mr.
to the...
O'Connor, if you'd like to, yep. Just give your name and address and anything you'd like to say.
My name is Phil O'Connor, and at 86 Intervale Street, I have a demolition business in and around Boston. And in the midst of doing that business, I come across salvage stuff that I'm trying to sell to help pay the bills. And I don't know, I'm a good neighbor. Ain't been in any trouble in a long time, and I just try to be a good person.
Fair enough. Thank you. Is there anyone else here in favor? Seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here in opposition? Seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Councilors, typically this body refers these kinds of matters, secondhand licenses, to the Public Safety Committee. I would make the motion, but I'm presiding over the meeting, so I'm unable to.
Motion to move to public safety.
Second.
Motion's been properly made and seconded to refer this to the Committee on Public Safety. All in favor? All opposed? The item is referred. Thank you.
Item number 10, petition of George LaGrice, Basement Power Sports, 105 Cedar Street, East Bridgewater, for a motor vehicle repair mechanical license and motor vehicle repair body license located at 21 Terminal Place, Brockton, Mass. In City Clerk's Office, July 11th, 2022. Hearing assigned for July 25th, 2022. Fire Department has no objections, and all paperwork is on file.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is there anyone here in favor? If so, please give your name and address to the city clerk.
George LaGrice, 105 Cedar Street, East Bridgewater, Mass. 02333.
Anything you want to say, or?
Nope. Just we run a vintage automobile customization and repair service, hot rods, classic cars, stuff like that.
Nice. All right, councilors, is there anyone else here in favor? Seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here in opposition? Seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Councilor Nicastro.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Mr. LaGrice.
Good evening.
Mr. LaGrice and I have been working on his application for these licenses since last August, and we've done a lot of work together, and he has been cooperative. He's gotten a plan put together for parking. He also has a Class 2 sales license, and so we've been incorporating the two requirements of the licenses together, and he has agreed to some stipulations relating to all of these licenses, and so I support this application. I'm happy to be supporting him, and I ask all of you for a positive vote this evening.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselors, the question comes on granting the license by a hand vote. All in favor? All opposed? License is approved.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Item number 11, petition of Brandon Rogers, DBA B&M One Stop Shop for a secondhand article license located at 181 Clinton Street, Brockton, in City Clerk's Office, December 7th, 2022. All paperwork is on file. Hearing assigned for January 24th, 2022. Referred to the Standing Committee on Public Safety. In Public Safety, February 2nd, 2022. Postponed until May 4th, 2022. In Public Safety, May 25th, 2022. Postponed for 30 days. In Public Safety, June 30, 2022. That report was unfavorable.
Councilors, the question comes on granting the secondhand article license. Councilor Rodriguez.
No, because I had approached them beforehand. Sorry about that.
You got a motion?
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd like to, in lieu of some information that came available to, at least to me and a couple of other councilors this afternoon, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone this item until the second council meeting in September. The second council meeting, to give inspectional services an opportunity to finish some things that they need to finish with this particular applicant. I don't want to vote against this, but if that's, if the motion doesn't pass, then I'm forced to vote against it, and I will vote against it. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor.
Second the
Councilors, the
council's
motion has been properly made and seconded to postpone this to the second council meeting in September. All in favor of postponement? All opposed? Postponement passes.
Item number 12.
Councilman Castro.
Thank you. Mr. President, at this time, I make a motion to take item number 51 out of order and then suspend the rules and hear it tonight.
There's second, councilors. Item number 51 is a resolve on the stormwater fees.
Actually, can I object to that because we were going to make a motion.
Councilor Azak, on the motion?
On the motion, we were going to take items 48 and 49 out of order and act on them this evening. They're really quick. It's with the elections office. The stormwater may take a little longer.
Second.
Would you be willing to postpone your motion, Councilor?
I will withdraw my motion right now.
All right. Thank
Second.
you, Councilor. Councilor Azak.
I make a motion to take number 48 and 49 out of order and act on them this evening under suspension of the rules.
Still seconding.
Motion has been properly made and seconded to take items 48 and 49 out of order and deal with them this evening. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Mr. Clerk.
Item 48, ordered, in compliance with the provisions of the election laws, notice is hereby given that the state primary will be held on Tuesday, September 6, 2022, in the following designated polling places. Ward 1, Precinct A, Housing Authority, 70 Holly Street. Ward 1, Precinct B, West Middle School, 271 West Street. Ward 1, Precinct C, Hancock School, 125 Pearl Street. Ward 1, Precinct D, Hancock School, 125 Pearl Street. Ward 2, Precinct A, Barrett Russell School, 45 Oakdale Street. Ward 2, Precinct B, Manning Towers, 45 Goddard Road. Ward 2, Precinct C, Senior Center, the Mary Cruz Kennedy Senior Center, 10 Father Kenny Way. Ward 2, Precinct D, the War Memorial Building, 156 West Elm Street. Ward 3, Precinct A, South Middle School, 105 Keith Ave Extension. Ward 3, Precinct B, South Middle School, 105 Keith Ave Extension. Ward 3, Precinct C, John F. Kennedy School, 900 Ash Street. Ward 3, Precinct D, West Side Library, 540 Forest Ave. Ward 4, Precinct A and B, Gilmore School, 150 Clinton Street. Ward 4, Precinct C, the Davis Elementary School, 380 Plain Street. Ward 4, Precinct D, Campello High Rise Apartments, 1380 Main Street. Ward 5, A and B, just A, strike that, East Side Library, 54 Kingman Street. Ward 5, Precinct B, East Middle School, 464 Center Street. Ward 5, Precinct C, Downey School, 55 Electric Ave. Ward 5, Precinct D, Caffrey Towers, 755 Crescent Street. Ward 6, Precinct A, Brookfield School, 135 John Drive. Ward 6, Precinct B, the Ashfield School Gymnasium, 225 Co Road. Ward 6, Precinct C and D, Brookfield School, 135 John Drive. Ward 7, Precinct A, North Middle School, 108 Oak Street. Ward 7, Precinct B, Bel Air Street High Rise, 105 Bel Air Street. Ward 7, Precinct C, Sullivan Towers, 140 Colonel Bell Drive. Ward 7, Precinct D, the Raymond School, 125 Oak Street. The polls will be open at 7 a.m. and will be closed at 8 p.m. Said voters will then, in their respective polling places, give in their votes, each on one piece of paper, to the warden for the election of candidates for the following named offices: Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, Secretary of the Commonwealth, Treasurer, Auditor, Representative in Congress for the 8th Congressional District, Governor's Counselor for the 4th Counselor District, State Senator in General Court for the 2nd Plymouth and Bristol Senatorial District, State Representative in General Court for the 9th, 10th, and 11th Representative Districts, District Attorney in Plymouth County, Sheriff in Plymouth County, County Commissioner in Plymouth County. We should vote on that one.
We took them collectively.
Item number 49, that the City Council appoints the Chief of Police or her designee the authority to assign police officers to the 28 polling places for the Massachusetts State Primary. The state primary will be held on Tuesday, September 6, 2022, in the designated polling places.
Councilors, the question is on adoption by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak.
Yes.
DiAgostino.
Yes.
Farwell.
Yes.
Lally.
Yes.
Mendez.
Yes.
Minicello.
Yes.
Nicastro.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
Yes.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The orders are adopted. Councilor Nicastro.
Mr. President, again, I'd like to make a motion to take an item 51 out of order and suspend the rules and hear it tonight.
There's a second.
Second?
Councilor, the motion has been properly made and seconded to take this item under suspension of the rules and to hear it tonight. All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes. Mr. Clerk.
Item number 51, resolved to invite Patrick Hill, Commissioner of Public Works, Chike Odenukwe, I'm sorry, Chike, I always slip on that one, City Engineer, Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer, and/or their designees, to appear before the Brockton City Council to discuss the city's efforts to address stormwater issues as required by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, including, without limitation, an overview of required work and hiring, the ordinance passed and body created to oversee this work, the resulting costs of such additional work and hiring, the fee to pay such costs recently imposed on city property owners, and such other issues and concerns related to stormwater. This resolve results from the many calls and messages received by city councilors following the recent mailing of bills for stormwater fees to residents and businesses owning property in Brockton.
Gentlemen, would you like to make any opening remarks before I go to the council?
Certainly, I'd be happy to do that, Mr. President. Good evening, Mr. President and members of the council. The officials before you have been introduced. In addition to the DPW Commissioner and the City Engineer, Evan Lacasse, who is a financial analyst on my staff, but whose primary role is to support the Department of Public Works, is also here with us. And in consultation with the Commissioner and myself, Evan prepared a pretty extensive packet that we provided to you via email late last week, hard copies of which were left on your desks this evening. And so I'll offer some introductory remarks, and then Pat, Chike, and I, and if necessary, Evan, will also be happy to answer your questions. The issue of stormwater fees, I think, has created many questions in the community, and so we'll try to provide some clarity to those issues to you tonight. What we've provided to you, and all of these items will be available on the city's website should the public have any questions on anything that's discussed tonight. We will, most of this information is already available on the website, but we will make it available in this packet form in a PDF so that you can provide it to any constituents should they ask for the information. But what we've provided to you, and I'll just list it very briefly and then get into a little bit of detail, in order to have a robust discussion on the issue of stormwater fees, we've provided to you a copy of the stormwater budget from your budget book. In addition, we keep in the city's accounting software, which is called Munis, a more detailed breakdown of projected expenses. And there were some questions about what specifically the money would be spent on, so we provided that to you as well. We provided to you a memo from the law department to city departments back in March that just generally discussed the issue of the implementation of the stormwater ordinance that you passed. So that provides some detail on how the implementation was to occur. We provided, as part of the ordinance, a stormwater authority was created. Those are posted public meetings. And so we provided you the minutes of that first meeting and also a list of the upcoming meetings of that authority. And then finally, a detailed list of the stormwater management manual that guides our implementation and operation of the stormwater authority in the city of Brockton. On top of all of that, on this top sheet, we did provide, just as a basis, some information on the current fee structure for the stormwater fees. For a single-family home, that's $6 per quarter. Multifamilies are $6 plus 25 cents per 1,000 square feet of impervious surface per quarter. For non-residential properties, $10 per 3,000 square feet of that same impervious surface per quarter. We provided you with future billing dates, and for purposes of our discussion and for the public, for this fiscal year anyway, those will be billed quarterly on October 17th, January 13th, and April 14th of 2023. Those are estimated dates at this point. We did, again, provide you with future meeting dates for the Stormwater Authority. We did provide some updated projections on what we believe will be revenue from the stormwater fee for the city, and provided some information on fees that were collected in the last fiscal year and fees that we project will be collected in the next fiscal year. We also provided you, we did some research, Evan did some pretty extensive research and provided information on other municipalities, both cities and towns, as to what their stormwater fee structure was, so that could give you a little texture on the fees that we're charging here in the city. As you know, in the last budget process, we set up the stormwater operation in the city of Brockton as an enterprise fund, like we do with water and sewer. Any revenues that come in from stormwater now go into the enterprise fund. So all of the activities of the stormwater operation are supported within those fees. And so the fees that citizens and businesses are paying here in the city all go toward the stormwater operation. The money that we collected in FY22, that's approximately $108,000. When FY23 started a few weeks ago, those monies were populated into the enterprise fund. For the first year, we estimated, for purposes of the budget, the fees to be pretty low. We're pretty confident we'll collect significantly more than the estimates. That was purposeful. If you recall, during the budget operation, the budget hearings, I talked about that, and that's, so we really want the enterprise fund to be healthy financially in its first years. Any monies that come in as fees this fiscal year in excess of expenses will then become what we call retained earnings. If it were a private business, those would be profits. Those retained earnings stay within the Stormwater Authority, within the enterprise fund, and are available for capital projects or investment and other expenses of the enterprise fund in the ensuing years. So again, all of the money that's collected stays within the enterprise fund. That budget that you approved for this year is just shy of $500,000. And again, we provided those details to you. One of the things that I should note is that retained earnings and actually budgeted funds in enterprise funds can be used to pay debt service. So one of the things we anticipate doing, like we've done in water and sewer, is undertake a pretty significant capital plan for stormwater improvements in the city. And should we come to you and ask to borrow money for those projects, the cost of those projects will be able to be paid, the debt service will be able to be paid out of the enterprise, so that any capital projects related to stormwater will not increase costs for our residents and businesses, because that money is already contained within the enterprise fund, again, much like the water and sewer. So that's an overview of the information that we provided to you. Let me speak just very briefly about the process of implementation, and then Pat, Chike, and I are happy to answer any questions that you have. So the existence of the Stormwater Authority and the Stormwater Ordinance have been around for some time. The council voted to adopt the Stormwater Ordinance. The implementation of the fee structure, I think, has had less of a robust public discussion. And I will say to you tonight that both the DPW commissioner and I will own responsibility for that. We know that you've received a significant amount of feedback, generally not positive, from your constituents. We missed an opportunity to have a public discussion with you and with the public before these bills were sent out, the kind of discussion we're having tonight. We recognize that, and that's why we're here, is to be able to address some of those missed opportunities to have that public discussion, but also to try to share more information with the public so that they're more comfortable and understanding of why we're spending this money and why they're being asked to pay that fee. So with that, unless, Mr. Commissioner, you have any additional thoughts, we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilor Nicastro, followed by Councilor Thompson.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for being here. Councilor Lally and I, being ward councilors, we worked together and co-sponsored this resolve this evening. That's what ward councilors do, is work together. In any event, give us some background. Tell us why we have to impose the stormwater fee, why we had to pass that stormwater ordinance.
So I'll start, and then both Chike and Pat can offer additional answers. The United States Environmental Protection Agency is requiring the mitigation of stormwater in communities throughout, I'm not sure about the United States, but certainly throughout US EPA Region 1, which is where we reside. And so this is a federal requirement for communities to come up with a method and a process to mitigate the impacts of stormwater on their communities. And so Brockton and every other community in the Commonwealth is faced with this responsibility.
So it is a nationwide program, Counselor. It was due to be implemented actually in 2008. We had a stormwater ordinance ready to go. The EPA never issued the permit. It dragged on for several years. In 2019, I believe, we met with EPA. We resubmitted an updated stormwater ordinance and went back and forth. And before the permit was issued, there was discussions about how the city was going to pay for all their responsibilities based on the permit. They recommended strongly that we impose a fee. Obviously, you know, that was something that we brought to the council for approval. But if we didn't impose a fee, we would have had to, they were looking for the city to commit a certain amount of dollars per year out of the city funds. The decision was made to go with the fee structure, and that's how we got to this point. They would not issue the NIPD's, small NIPD's permit without the fee attached to it, so.
Thank you. Mr. Odenakwe, what are the challenges of stormwater? Why do we need to do this? Is stormwater bad?
In the in the 1970 to the about 2000, the focus was on sanitary. That is why rivers and streams are a little better now. But now, the pollution comes from stormwater, and EPA wants to deal with that. So that if you, in a few years, when a lot of the work has been done, if you go to a stream or catch a fish, you wouldn't be worried about eating the fish. The same, we can go anywhere and swim. So EPA wants to take out all the pollution from the waterways so that people can use them as they used to be. That is the reason why they imposed, every municipality is supposed to impose that, and they gave a fee model. Their recommendation was $18 a quarter for a single family. Looking at the economic situation in Brockton, so we reduced to $6. They are not going to penalize us for not taking care of the problem as fast as once we are making progress. That is why we reduced to $6 so that people can afford to pay it.
So right now, we get these hellacious storms that, you know, send water tumbling through the street and into the sewers. Is this program going to change where that water goes?
I don't know. Oh,
Every water, no matter what, they go to the waterway. Whether you infiltrate it into the ground, it ends up in one of the streams or rivers. So no matter what you do, that's where they end up. That's why EPA wants them cleaned up. We encourage infiltration, but before you infiltrate, we want it treated so that when it ends up there, it will be clean. And not only that, if you build an infiltration system, it will, instead of, say, Massachusetts standards, you only treat it 25%. We treat 85%, so that whatever you install will stand the test of time. Maybe Massachusetts one may last 10, 15 years, or 10, 15 years, and it breaks down, or you have to redo it. But if you treat before infiltrating, it may last up to 100 years. So once you install, you forget about it failing and doing it all over.
Councillor Lally has a constituent who has planted trees and taken steps to conserve water and not have runoff on his property, probably more than many other residents. And so why would he have to pay this fee as opposed to somebody whose property is all blacktopped?
The water still have to go into the ground and end up in the waterways.
Okay.
Unless they treat it before infiltrate. That we have a rebate system. If you do good, we reduce the fee you pay. So we have a rebate system for who take proactive action to either clean up and infiltrate.
Okay. And I have a financial question. How did you come about, how did you decide on $24 per year, $6 per quarter?
I can provide an answer, and then Chike can, because he was been intimately involved in the formation of this Stormwater Authority. But I think certainly from my perspective, it was important to have a fee that was affordable, that would provide enough revenue to support the operation within the city, but that was affordable for our residents and business owners. And as you can see in comparing Brockton's fee to other communities, at least the communities that we researched, and there are many others out there, but from the data that was available, it was on the very low end, if not one of the lowest fees of the communities that we researched, and that's both cities of similar size and smaller towns. And so from my perspective, that was a significant factor in the amount of the fee.
Okay. EPA recommended $18 a quarter. Looking at financial strength of residents of Brockton, we did 1/3 of that because EPA said once you are making progress, they're not going to penalize you. So we reduced it so that we gradually get there.
So how, on an annual basis, how much revenue do you expect to raise from these fees? You know, tell us the amount. I know you've given us data this evening, but tell us the amount for the viewers at home.
So we anticipate collecting approximately $1.5 million annually in stormwater fees. And again, the projected budget for this year is roughly $500,000. That's intentional until the program develops, we understand what its needs are, and the real hope is to invest the money in stormwater mitigation projects and not in personnel and other administrative costs. And so that's why you'll see that the projected revenue is significantly above the expenses, because we want the real expense of this stormwater program to be in making improvements in the city and not expenses within City Hall. And I should note, due to the budget that was approved by the City Council, we now have a full-time GIS person, and that employee is working on a GIS layer, or essentially a map, that will outline all of the planned projects, and you'll be able to, we will share that with you when it's complete, and you'll be able to see that much like the water projects that we've talked about, these planned stormwater improvements are planned in every ward in the city. And so, as Chike mentioned, the impacts of stormwater occur throughout the city, and so the mitigation projects will be throughout the city as well.
And what will be the lifespan of this stormwater project and enterprise fund? I had several people ask me, you know, is this going to go on forever, or once you address the problem, will it abate?
That will be EPA will decide when the test and the water has been cleaned. All the cities and towns need to do is to make sure every project they do meet the requirements. So that depends on EPA. If they keep testing and and it's done, then there will be no need for. There may be need for a little bit, but not as much as what we have now. To make sure they maintain the system.
And how is it that I understand this fee that was first imposed in an April water and sewer bill, and it was listed in there, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And how is it that a $6 bill got sent out in July?
So the way that the list was established, Counselor, we actually put this out to bid and had a firm put this list together. The list was put together based on the ordinance. So in order to capture all the properties in the city of Brockton, it had to be done by parcel. So they generated a list, which is just over 26,000 parcels in the city of Brockton, and created a list. In order for us to send out a full billing, the last billing went out because we didn't have an opportunity to get that list implemented into Munis, so we couldn't send out the full billing. But in order for us to do a full billing, we had to have Munis run a program and establish a very specific software edition so that we could capture it. Unfortunately, a lot of these parcels don't have utility bills, so the first round went on the utility bill portion. Probably 4,000 or 5,000 of these parcels do not have utility bills. So in order for us to capture the whole city in totality, we had to run it through a separate billing. So that's the way it was set up through Munis. I will take full blame for that. You know, I did meet with, we attempted to do it several different ways. We were thinking about perhaps attaching it to the tax bill so that we wouldn't have to send a separate bill. We were told that we were not allowed to do that. It seemed that we were going to have some issues with the first round of full billing. And we know there's going to be questions and people are going to, you know, we knew that people were going to request abatements or request information. So we figured with 26,000 plus accounts, it would take us probably a full year before we had one full, complete established list. So the goal right now is to get through this fiscal year, and then in the beginning of next fiscal year, just send one bill out.
Well, as you all know, I have a plaza owner who was quite bothered by the humongous bill that he received. And so talk to us about how commercial bills are calculated.
Wanna?
They are based on impervious area. 3,000 square foot is $10. For the, what do you call it, the shopping malls, what the city needs to do to help them out is reduce the parking requirements, because shopping malls are now close to dinosaurs. You don't need that amount of parking in a current parking mall. So they reduce it so that the parking malls can get other people to come and occupy those spaces. So if you do that, they'll have the money to be able to, because they have a lot of unpaved surfaces, which drive the cost. But when you reduce the parking requirements, they'll be able to bring other businesses to come and occupy those places. And that will reduce whatever, give them more income to be able to pay the fees they're being charged. Right now, it's a concrete jungle. And nobody, if you go there, you see that most of them are empty. Because people use eBay, Amazon, and a lot of other. Even the shopping malls now have their own, you order things online, and they go there and pick up. So there is no need for all the parking in the parking malls. It's reduced the number of parking required, and they'll get people to come and build their facilities there to make more income to be able to afford this.
Well, I'll contact you separately about that because I do have questions, but I'd like to give other counselors the opportunity to speak with you. Yes?
Counselor, just to add one more thing to that, and just so you know, obviously these bills that went out were certainly not, I'm looking for the right word. We're definitely going to do a better job the next time. So some of the information that's going to be provided to people on the next bill will be their total parcel size and square footage, their total impervious size of their parcel in square footage, and how the bill is calculated. We're working right now with IT to get that stuff done. So there'll be more information for people to kind of understand it. I know that we've talked about specifically about the Kmart Plaza, and I explained to you how we got to that number.
Yes.
And we're obviously willing to work with the council and whatever you guys think is fair, so.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I may have more questions at the end. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Thompson, followed by Counselor D'Agostino and Counselor Farwell.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, gentlemen. I know you briefly touched on the capital projects that will be associated with the stormwater management. But I remember back in about 2019, 2020, the engineering firm Fuss & O'Neill came before us and gave us a presentation on some of the stormwater mitigation issues that they were encouraging the city to undertake. Some of those mitigations were the dredging of the Ellisbrook Pond, automating the gate system at Ellisbrook, and then other I think there were some sort of drainage systems along Oak Hill Way or in that South Main Street area. And so I just wanted to see if are those some of the projects that would be funded by this stormwater fee? And is Fuss & O'Neill the engineering firm that we're working with for further capital plans in this area?
So right now, we're not working with any particular firm on capital projects, but try to give you like an overview of what we're looking at for a stormwater system. You know, we have 200 miles of stormwater pipe in the city, 3,800 drain manholes, close to 8,000 catch basins, and 488 outfalls. So those outfalls in the beginning of this process will be where we'll be focusing our work to try to make sure that those outfalls are in good condition, because that's where, at the end of the day, we have to do all of our source testing. So, you know, part of this program is to try to clean up the water before it enters the waterways, and that's all done at the outfall side. So what happens is we go out and we test outfalls, and then we backtrace into the system to try to determine where the contaminants come from. We have started some of that through a grant that we had received several years ago. So we have a pretty good size report to get moving on. So a lot of the initial improvements that will be done will be, you know, repairing catch basins, repairing head walls in the outfall areas, cleaning and CCTVing a lot of the stormwater infrastructure as it exists now. And then we'll start, you know, looking at future capital projects. That project up at Westgate Mall, I mean, I would love to do that. I think that's going to definitely need to be done. It will be very costly, but certainly the money from this could be used to offset some of those costs, Joe.
And just to, and I'll pass it along to Chike in a second, but just to clarify the process, Counselor, when those projects are undertaken, if we're going to borrow the money, or if we need to transfer the money from retained earnings, because we can't just spend out of that retained earnings. There needs to be an affirmative vote of this body to make those monies available. So when the request is made to fund those projects, those requests will come back to this council for funding. So you'll definitely be in the loop on those. There may be some that are funded through the annual budget as we move forward, but if that's the case, those will be obviously listed in the request for the operating budget, so you'll have the ability to weigh in on those as well.
Understood.
The other thing is that most of the streets in the city are private and they're not properly designed. A lot of the stormwater that from those streets don't get any some form of treatment. Even if they go into a catch basin, they get 25% treatment, but a lot of them just flow and go to the rivers. So the city is going to work methodically to get all streets in Brockton to be public streets, properly designed with proper drainage. We will get some grants to help make this work. But the Stormwater Enterprise Fund is a very good, would I say, source to start doing that work.
Great. I appreciate that. So just from listening to what's been said here and some of my own research, this is mostly a contamination issue and not necessarily a flooding prevention issue. When people hear stormwater, you know, we think rain and associated flooding that comes along with this. But this is more of a contaminant issue and not necessarily water management issue.
Yeah, and most of the sampling, Counselor, is done in the dry weather, so that it's easier to isolate the areas that you're backtracing. So, you know, picture the Westgate Mall in its worst time, flooding. That would be the worst time for us to go back and try to figure out if that water is contaminated in the dry weather, then it opens the door for this program. So,
okay, understood. I appreciate. Oh.
The other thing is that infiltration will reduce the flooding when we have a lot of people treating and infiltrating. So during the storm events, those will be determined, we don't get to the until the flood is over, when you infiltrate them.
Understood. Well, I appreciate your answers and your time tonight, gentlemen. Thank you. That's all. Nothing further, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor D'Agostino, followed by Counselor Farwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here tonight. So a lot of my questions have been answered by the, questions my colleagues posed to you. But you included the state law, which I appreciate. But I know that there's, and you've talked about it, and we've talked about it, Pat, the federal, the EPA part. I guess what I'm looking for is where in writing is it, and you can send it to me at a later time, that mandates that we do this and charge a fee. Because we're telling people that we were mandated to do it.
So that was part of the permit negotiations, Counselor. So the
Okay.
permit, they would not issue the permit to us unless we either attached a fee or committed city funds to make the improvements.
Okay, so we had to attach a fee or commit other funds, Sorry, I'm just making a note here. Is there, sorry, sometimes I can't read my own writing. Is there anywhere, just if somebody said, well, can I see where the mandate came from? Is there anything in writing somewhere?
I'd have to look back through my emails, Counselor, but it was part of the negotiations with EPA.
Okay, so, all right, yeah, I mean, I would just, if it exists,
It does exist, and we report to EPA every year. September 30 is the deadline to report for this year,
right,
what we have done.
all right. So whatever you have that shows the mandate, just for, some folks were pretty upset about this, and I think that it's not necessarily the $6, it's the $6, the 9% inflation, the $2 a gallon more for gas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And so I would just like to be able to show, look, we really were mandated to do this, and here it is, So, again, something that I don't expect that you have readily sitting in front of you, but, and the second thing, and this is more of a statement than a question, when we want to, the city does a great job of communicating with residents. Storms, BEMA does a great job. When we're raising flags here at City Hall, when we're posting videos, there's any number of things that we communicate very well about publicly. And this is something, and you guys said it, it was a missed opportunity. But I know that, this is why I don't put this all on you, Pat, or even just you, Troy, because it's somebody's job here in this building to communicate with the public. And so I guess my ask is that if something like this comes up, and it might not even be DPW, it may be in a different department, but something like this comes up again where it's going to impact residents, they're going to see something in their mail somewhere, something like this where communication would have been able to maybe avoid, some of the stir. If we can just work on doing a better job of making sure we're communicating via the ability, the city has any number of options to communicate these kinds of things with residents ahead of time, and inevitably you'll still get some comment, some feedback, but, at least from folks I heard from in my ward, the thing that I heard the most was, why wasn't it communicated to us ahead of time? That's all it was. I would have liked to have known this was coming, had an understanding of where it came from. So anyway, I beat that to death, but you get the picture that we could just do a better job with this, So that's all I'm asking, that we, in the future kind of take our lumps, learn the lesson, and do better next time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Farwell, followed by Counselor Tavares.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll try to be as condensed as I can. Do we pay Kelly and Associates to mail out those bills?
Yes.
Okay, what do we pay them? What percentage? Or how is their fee figured?
The fee is based on the number of bills that are printed and sent. Don't have an exact figure of what this billing cost, Counselor, but I could get it for you.
Okay, and why did we they handled our motor vehicle excise tax. Why are we now using them as opposed to city staff to mail out bills? You may remember we had a problem with an envelope that had a return address that really wasn't quite official, and a lot of people, we feared, would throw it out. Why are we now depending upon an outsourced or a vendor to mail out city bills?
I honestly don't have that answer, Counselor. That is the direction I had always been given to, that Kelly and Ryan was the people that we use for our billing. That's who I believe we've used for some time now for the billing. I could certainly talk with Marty Brophy, and have that discussion, but I don't have that answer. How we use Kelly and Ryan.
One of the things that we began to do at the beginning of this process was bring together the Department of Public Works, the Treasurer Collector, my office, auditing, all of the agencies within the building that have a piece of utility billing in general, and to try to create a better process for getting these bills out. Obviously, we've got a long way to go, but I can assure you, Counselor, that those discussions will continue, and we are committed to improving that process, and when possible, bringing that in-house to reduce our outside costs. But that's a detailed discussion that has lots of spokes on that wheel, but we'll continue those discussions.
Well, not directed at any of you, because you may not have made a decision, but it really irritates the hell out of me that we paid an outside vendor to mail out and send a bill for $6. I don't know how much we netted out of the $6. And if someone paid it over the internet using a credit card, they pay a 50-cent convenience fee. So let me move on to something you said a little earlier. We're not sure this is a nationwide mandate. This may only be a EPA Region 1 Boston mandate? Or...
No. I didn't want to offer you information because it's not my area of expertise, so I speculated that I knew it was at least, but then both Chike and Pat confirmed that it is nationwide.
It is nationwide?
Yes.
It is. Okay, so that leads me into my next question. I don't see 351 cities and towns in that database or that link that someone was kind enough to send out to me. Why do we seem to be at the forefront of doing this when it would appear, based on reading and research, there are other communities that are nowhere near implementing a mandated stormwater fee?
The only thing I could say, Counselor, and maybe Chike can talk a little bit more about that, is that they may not have gone through the negotiation process with EPA.
We are really not in the forefront. A lot of cities and towns implemented this 2018, and this is 2022, and we're implementing ours. So we are way behind other communities in Massachusetts implementing this.
But what prompts this negotiation process? We have borrowed money. I remember being on the council 3 or 4 years ago. I'm sure some of my fellow councilors were there. I believe the meeting took place over at the Annone School because of COVID, or the elevator was out, and we borrowed, I want to say, $16 million to upgrade the wastewater treatment plant. I mean, how much more does the EPA expect of us? And I ask that because Councilor D'Agostino was right. Someone might say, well, you know what, what's $24 a year? Well, it's the 24, if you're on a fixed income, Social Security, and your food is going up, and your heating oil is going up, and your clothing is going up, and your co-payments for medications are going up, $24 does become part of that problem budget that you face. So I'd like to know, and I don't expect an answer tonight, I'd like to know why the EPA demanded that we enter into some type of a negotiation with them over our NPDES permit and needed this stormwater management plan implemented. I mean, I really want to see that document, and I'd like to know how many times we met with them, who met with them, what were the negotiations usually means. One side offers this, we offer that. The other side responds, we respond. Because I don't want to find out that we're trend-setting here among cities and towns.
It is not as simple as that. City of Brockton cannot do what you're saying.
I'm sorry, cannot what?
City of Brockton cannot, EPA made every municipality in United States to do this because they want to clean up the waterways. We cannot negotiate our way out of not doing it because every city is supposed to do it.
But then where is everyone else doing it? Where are all the other communities?
They are doing it.
They're doing it?
Yes.
Well,
The people that negotiated with, a lot of communities came together. What the EPA wanted to do was more robust. They wanted to test 2016. A lot of communities came together and negotiated as a coalition with DEP to get it to where they can do I don't know how to put it, how they can regionalize it and make it simpler. So it's not something a city did. Some watershed communities came together and were able to negotiate with EPA what is being implemented. What is being implemented in Brockton is implemented nationwide. So we cannot negotiate our way out of it with EPA.
I'm not suggesting that. I think my frustration is that I don't mind being in the ocean with everyone else if we've got to row in the same direction. I don't want to be in the ocean all by ourselves with our people here paying a fee, and it seems like other communities haven't gotten up to that level of commitment to the EPA yet. But let me move on for a minute, because you were kind enough to provide the Muni printout. And if I'm reading this correctly, you said the first year budget would be about $500,000, but then you said we're going to be collecting, projected, $1.5 million. It offends me, and I understand a cushion, and I understand what's called the fudge factor. If you have a budget that you need to attain, you're obviously going to go a little bit above that because your commodities can change, pricing can change. But it bothers me that we would collect 3 times more than what we anticipate spending, because we're passing it on to the people out there. We're passing it on to the residents. And this isn't a political statement. There are people that literally live paycheck to paycheck and hand to mouth in this city. It's no exaggeration. And so, councilors, my preference would be that we find out what we're going to have to spend on an annual basis, and then we look at the ordinance that's been passed, and then we scale it to what we need reasonably to operate it on an annual basis, but we don't pad it. We don't go to the wells, no pun intended, to which is our residents, and say, we want you to pay more than we actually are going to spend. Now, and that brings me to page 2 of the Muni printout. It looks to me like the grand total is $957,419 that's projected for stormwater management. Am I reading this correctly? Because I don't get these Muni printouts too often. So that would be this document right here, page 2. So you mentioned $500,000, but this looks like $957,419. Am I correct?
Yeah, no, I see it. I'm just looking through it.
It looks like we factored in the salaries, then we added in purchase of services, $398,079. I assume that would be, well, I shouldn't assume. And then department equipment, $24,000. Communication equipment, $33,000. Undefined project, $33,000. And I don't like these undefined things. You guys should have recognized that from the budget hearings. I like things being pretty specific when we're dealing with money. So if it's $500,000 for FY 2023, but it's projected ultimately to be $957,419, and that could be because you haven't hired up the staff that you think, or you haven't purchased the services yet that you think you're going to need. I understand that. Let me go on to one last technical question, because I don't think we're going to cover this all in one night. So we hired Kelly and Associates to send out the bills. someone decided how much each parcel would pay. Are you telling me that someone actually went out and calculated the square foot of impervious surface in, for example, Westgate Mall, and that's how we sent the bill out?
All that data was available on the Mass GIS portal, Counselor?
Right, but how do we know when that was updated? People could have built, and so you no longer have impervious surface.
I want to say the most recent data from Mass GIS was collected in 2020.
Was what?
2020.
Well, good Lord, it's 2022. Think of the buildings that might have gone up in 2 years. Think of the land that could have been nothing but macadam and impervious surface, but now we have buildings on them. I mean, okay, let me let that go. Last two questions. Do we charge the schools for stormwater management?
No.
We don't? Okay, now that's interesting because, quite frankly, and I'm not picking on the schools, their parking lot, with all of those vehicles going in and out of there, you've got oil that drops down, you've got rubber residue, you've got coolant that can drip out of a car, you've got all kinds of contaminants that end up on the surface of a parking lot, and ultimately that gets washed into the stormwater system and ends up in our wastewater treatment plant. So I kind of find that interesting that we didn't work out something with them that, because they do pay for water and sewer, so, you know.
They are not exempt from meeting the stormwater requirements. What we are not doing is charging city facilities, but everyone is supposed to meet that requirement.
How about the Commonwealth, the courthouse parking lot?
Yes, they'll be charged.
They pay? VA hospital?
Even churches, everybody.
Brockton Hospital?
Yes, they'll get a bill.
All right, and the last thing, and this is a philosophical question, and then I'll yield, but rainwater falls. It ends up on property. If it ends up in my backyard, it's probably going to stay there unless it's enough rain to get into the groundwater. If it ends up in my parking lot, on my driveway, it's going to go down onto the roadway and it's going to go into the wastewater treatment system. We already charge people for water and sewer. Their sewer bill is predicated upon their water usage. Now it just appears to me that we're charging them for the water that falls on their property, not water that comes out of the tap, not water that they're consuming and sending into the system. To me, this is nothing more than a surcharge on the sewer bill. And I really, that bothers me, because they're already paying for all of their usage of our wastewater treatment system because of their water consumption. Now we're saying, well, you know what, if it rains heavily and you've got X number of square feet, we're going to charge you because we think you may be sending pollutants into our wastewater treatment plant.
No, the drainage and the sanitary have separate system. What the runoff doesn't go to the treatment plant. It goes to the rivers and streams and rivers. That is what EPA wants to clean up.
The runoff from my front lawn doesn't go down into the roadway and along the gutter and down into the wastewater treatment state?
No.
So where the sewer mains that I have on my road, where does the water go?
So the sanitary sewer goes to the sewer.
No, but the water that runs down the roadway and goes into the catch basin. It goes where? It goes into a riverway.
So approximately, like where you live, there's a riverway that goes across the golf course and it enters into the, there's a culvert that runs across Torrey Street.
So the residue from the tires and the oil and the coolant doesn't go into our wastewater treatment system?
It does not.
Then why the hell does the EPA care?
I wish I had a good answer for you, Counselor.
That is why they are doing this, because those are going into the waterway. They want to clean it up.
And by the way, I want you to know, I'm not at all angry with any of you. You know, the government loves to tell us what to do, unfunded mandates. The poor people have to pick up the slack, and it just, you know, sometimes you want to say enough is enough, but thank you, everyone, for letting me go on, and I'm concluded. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. I appreciate the, you know, making the note that the federal government, the state government does love those unfunded mandates.
Mr. President, just one point to address one of the issues that Councilor Farwell raised.
Right
'Cause
ahead, Mr. Clark.
I think it's important to remind councilors the actual budget for this stormwater enterprise is what you approved during your budget hearings. There is a discrepancy. The numbers don't exactly match between what the budget was that you approved and what's in Munis. There are some figures in there, including some of those projects that will not be undertaken, as I mentioned before in response to Councilor Thompson, without a vote of the council. And because it's early in the fiscal year, the auditing office is still refining those budgets in Munis. And so I would just ask that when you're looking at proposed expenses for the enterprise for the year, first of all, the actual budget is in the budget order that you took, that you voted on. And then this expanded detail in the budget book are really the guidelines. And so we provided the Munis printout just to provide additional detail on the internal accounting, but that's still being refined, and so that's why it doesn't match up with this exactly. But the actual budget for that enterprise is what you voted during your budget hearings. I just wanted to clarify that because as I looked at the two, it confused even me a little bit, so I just wanted to offer that clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Clarkson. Councilor Tavares, followed by Councilor Texera.
Thank you, Mr. President, and then thank you again. Whatever I'm saying right now does not come from me. Basically, like, Saturday and Sunday, I got, huge phone call, never stop. The many time, as a new city council, I'm trying to learn a lot of stuff. But let me tell you, people, my people is worried. The reason why they're so worried, I can tell you by 3 years from now, I don't think we're gonna lose a lot of people move out of Brockton. They so complain the tax go up like crazy. The water bill day to day or month to month, like they said. I'm just saying exactly what they said, doesn't come for me. Whatever I said does not come for me, just to let you know. And they feel like they're not getting nothing towards whatever the city keeping charging them most of the time, all the time. As a new city councilor, I'm trying to learn with Mr. Moses Rodriguez, drive everybody crazy. Because when they call me, asking me a lot of questions, sometimes I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even know being city council has been this way. Well, to tell you I've been enjoying, no. I'm little concerned as well and drive everybody crazy. Well, with a lot of questions. Again, they so worried about, infrastructure, they say they can even talk about it. Everything does not looking like right. Well, the tax going up like crazy. We have a lot of single parents, gotta work 3 to 4 jobs, and then put the kids left alone in the house because they don't know a place to put the kids because if they hire someone, it's gonna cost them more. And then basically the bills is increasing day per day, night per night. That I'm just saying exactly what they're saying. Well, we've been losing, since I've been elected city council, we've been losing a lot of even neighbors. They move out of New Bedford, Fall River, because they can't afford it, stay in Brockton anymore. And then that's sad, even myself too, I kind of wow, wait a second, what's going on? And then look at the infrastructure. Where the two, I've been talking to you. I hope you kind of do something because this is the people keeping telling me when something's gonna get done. I don't know the answer. And then there's, I've been texting you, sending you texts, couple times, kind of little update what's going on. And it's just, I feel even bad myself too because, probably it's just it's too much. I don't know. I think we could have something, even the road improve or something better. I totally agree with the D'Agostino about the communication. The communication is very poor. The city doesn't communicate very much with the community. And then, they come to us, ask a lot of questions. For myself, I got to do my research and get back to them to find the answer for them. I so agree with Mr. Agostino, in this case, it's better for them to get the letter with explanation, better details. Then they're not going to be just asked us a lot of questions, especially for new city councilor. It's going to be very tough. because the communication is the key. That'd be very helpful. Again, we need to kind of work in little improvement, infrastructure a little bit. And then even though like every time the water go up or the tax go up, they're gonna be like, well, we get that because the road has been fixed, or okay, they got something towards that. But when they only seeing it, charge, nothing's been done, people just get frustrated, say, you know what, let me just move out of Brockton. You know, and then a lot of people say, well, I've been losing my family because they can't afford to be in Brockton. I've been losing my neighbor because they can't afford to be in Brockton. What can we look? If you go in this situation 3 years from now, believe me, people like myself can't afford to be in Brockton. And then this is what I said, doesn't come from me, like I said, for my worthy two people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Counselor. You guys have anything on?
The best I can say in response to that, Counselor, is we agree. I mean, at the beginning of this presentation, I, on behalf of myself and my colleagues, owned the what I call a missed opportunity to communicate, and we're here because we want to improve that communication and clearly provide information and answers to you and to the public on the stormwater program and what people can expect moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you, Mr. CFO. Counselor Texera.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for us to be here for us. I see on the fee structure for single family, $6, multifamily, $6 plus 25 cents per 1,000 square. Residential, not residential, $10 per 3,000 square feet. What about parking lot? Do we charge? Yeah, do we charge for parking lot?
Parking lots get charged for non-residential, based on the impervious.
So that will fall under.
That would fall under non-residential.
Okay. This ordinance was passed last year, correct? If I'm.
I want to say it was a couple of years ago.
Oh, so it was a couple of years, so it was before our time. Because this is new to me. And why can't we attach the bill into the water bill and first get a different bill?
So the way that, and I explained this briefly, Counselor, is the way that this stormwater ordinance is written, every parcel in the city would receive a stormwater bill. So there are a lot of parcels that are owned by people that are, you know, buildable lots that they may not have developed yet. They have their own separate parcel, they have their own separate tax bill. The way that the ordinance is written, it's based off the parcel. So in order for us to capture all of the parcels in the city, we had to separate it from the utility billing side of it. So the utility billing, the water and sewer, there are some houses that don't have water, there are some houses that don't have sewer, and none of those empty parcels of land have utilities. So they don't have an account that exists within Munis. So after going back and forth, there's about 5,000 of those accounts that exist. We would have had to manually import all those costs, or the decision was made, it would be a lot easier to capture all those accounts that were already put in the way that the ordinance was written into its own separate billing, so.
Okay, the reason is because, you know, there's a lot of single parents and people that work two jobs, 3 jobs on occasion, that, you know, to make a trip to the city hall, to come and pay $6.
So the goal is to get this whole billing system under control within, and the way that it looks now with stuff that we've seen. I mean, we found a lot of errors that occurred during the billing. You know, one of them was, for some reason, we still haven't figured out why anybody that had an irrigation system, they had an irrigation meter. So that's 2 separate bills two separate accounts that they would have within the utility billing system, one for water and sewer and one for irrigation. For some reason, those people got 2 stormwater bills, one for an irrigation account and one for their regular account. And at the end of the day, it makes no sense to us at all because it's based off the parcel. So that parcel should have only received 1 bill. So there's a lot of stuff to kind of work through with 26,000 accounts. We figured it would take us a year or so to get a handle on it, and then after that, it's just going to go out once a year. So.
Okay, that's all the question I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Minicello, followed by Counselor Rodriguez.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for attending. I'm not going to repeat everything that and the good points that my fellow counselors brought up. Many of the same points I was going to ask. However, I do point out that the Massachusetts state law, here says, cities, commissioners, selectmen, or road commissioners of a town may, from time to time, establish just and equitable annual charges for the use of common sewers, main drains, related stormwater facilities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it says the term may, not shall. But once you make that decision to do it, then once you make that decision, this shall be paid by every person who enters that particular sewer they're in. So if there are properties that are septic and not tied into town sewer, those properties, in my opinion, are omitted from this. And then there's also further language that says there can be credits to Councilor Nicastro's point for her constituent who has nice plantings, has planted a buffer zone or what have you, or taken steps to have a retention area basin or other filtration structures. I don't know exactly the science of this or the agricultural or landscaping whatever filtration to mitigate, so to speak, but then Conservation Commission, other governmental entity or authority from the town or city can make that determination after, inspection to grant a credit. So it just seems to me that the quote mandate may not be quite such a mandate. I'm just looking for clarification. Maybe someone should look a little more into it to verify that all cities and towns are participating in this thing. And that, we have to do it because this says may, but once you jump into the pool, then it looks like, you're in full bore, but you do have the ability to credit people for doing certain, mitigating works to their property. The other point I would make is that, this doesn't say anything about pollutants or, effluents coming out. This to me, when I read this language, to Councilor Farwell's points, it seems like this is just another charge to do the to do the necessary work that we're already collecting money to do. I guess my point would be if we determine that yes, it's mandated, we have to do this, then we have to be very particular, like Councilor Farwell pointed out. We need to know exactly what are we spending this extra money on. It shouldn't be going into the general pool to just, maintain our pipes and do this, that, and the other thing. It seems to me that it has to be for very unique, new work that's being done that hasn't been done that, the EPA is requiring that we do. So I guess my point is make sure that it is a mandate because the word may is not a mandate, that it's not shall. But once we go into it, we're into it, And again, just repeating myself, but make sure that what we're doing is unique and dealing with this, quote, special EPA, reasoning why they impose this thing on us. And because we really shouldn't be collecting just, an extra fees to do the ordinary maintenance that we're already paying for in our, water and sewer billing that everyone pays. And again, to Councilor D'Agostino's point, we all know it. Everyone's paying more for gas, food, electric, medical insurance of all, every way, shape, or form. We're getting hit. Everyone's getting hit. So, again, it's a little fee, just like everyone said, but add it up. Working people are getting hit hard. Working people, are really getting hit at every point and angle. So that's all. But thank you. I know you're in a tough spot here, but if you could get the answers to those questions that verify that this is a mandate indeed, because if it's not, then I think we have to rethink what we're doing or why we're imposing the fee. So, Councilor, a couple of the follow-up requests that we will be providing to you based on tonight's discussion are a list of projects so that the council will see where the department intends to spend the money and the mitigation projects. And I think another item that was requested by Councilor Farwell that will be very helpful for the council and for the public is some historic documentation on how we got here. And I certainly agree with the councilor's assessment of the state statute. We are, in this instance, though, also faced with the federal mandate, which is the reason why these were implemented. And so I think the historical backup that Councilor Farwell requested will be very helpful to understand the process of how we got here.
Again, I'm not arguing that you're not correct. I just want to, if I look at this in isolation, it's not mandated. But if you say, okay, but you need to look at this together with this, then so be it. But I want to be able to say to my constituents, just like all of us here, hey, we now see the law, the statute, the federal regulation, the whatever it is, and I'm confident that yes, it is a mandatory imposition on all of us. Other communities, not other communities, but all of the other communities are doing this, unless some of the other communities are so wealthy that, you know, they collect enough money that they don't need to put an extra charge in because they're charging, you know, Wellesley is charging and Cambridge is charging and, you know, whoever, Marblehead Neck or whoever, well, they have plenty of tax money, so they don't need to impose a little fee on this because their tax rate is high enough to absorb all this stuff. You know, maybe that's the case, and that's why they're not on that list that Councilor Farwell pointed out. I don't know. But, you know, is Quincy on there? You know, is Lawrence on there? Is Taunton on there? Is Fall River? A like-kind communities on there? Are they all participating in this? Well, I'd like to know that. You know, I think we'd all like to know that, you know. So I will yield. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. All right. Counselor Rodriguez. You have to match the energy.
Jesus.
Save the best for last.
Oh, I'm going to bring up everything that my colleagues brought up.
Oh, good.
Levels up.
Oh, fun.
No, actually, I mean, I agree with the vast majority of what has been said here tonight. I was here 2 years ago, and we voted for this. To be honest with you, I think it was sold to us as a mandate that we had absolutely no choice but to vote for it. That's why it was voted for. But I think we put the carriage before the horse. I think it would have made it a lot easier of a sell to the folks that are watching us at home if we actually had projects first and then the cost to run those projects second. Because I understand that the sewer water is not going into, I mean, the water is not going into the sewer system because it goes into a separate system. And EPA wants us to clean the streams and do some of the other things that needs to be done in order to mitigate the problems that they're finding in the soil and all that other stuff. That I understand. But the fact is, we're asking the taxpayers of this community to pony up about $1.5 million. And with all due respect to all of us, because I think we're responsible as well because we approved the budget, it seems that we use funds generated into the city just to pay salaries. That's what it seems like. And no, it seems that way. When you don't have a specific project that you can say, you know, we're buying water with this money, but yet we're hiring $400 and something thousand worth of employees, it seems that we're raising funds to pay employees. So I think it's a lot easier of a sell if we actually had specific projects that this thing needs to go towards. And I think that's the most important thing that Mr. Hill, our CFO, and Chuck, we all have to do that part to basically show where these funds are going. Because again, it's $6. It's not a humongous amount of money, but it's a fee nevertheless. And I think people are looking at it saying we are being assessed another fee to go towards this particular thing without them knowing where these funds are going. And I think that the ownership goes back to you guys to come up with this as soon as possible to kind of help us go through this process. I too have I don't know if you brought it up because I might have been yapping here with Councilor Thompson. How much is it actually costing us in terms of what we're paying to Kelly and Associates to help us with this billing process? Did you bring that up?
What I said, Councilor, was I would have to get that cost.
So we don't know what that cost is yet.
What it costs per billing?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Or whatever work they're doing in this process.
I'm sorry?
Or whatever work they're doing with this process. Because it's not just the billing, right? They're
that's all they do.
researching and doing some of the other things that,
No, they're doing the billing, that's it.
just the billing.
Just the billing.
And again, to go back to what Council Fowler was saying, if we handle all our billing here for the water and sewer, why couldn't we handle, if it's just the billing, if they're not doing any research in terms of finding parcels of land and some of these other things that we need billing for, if it's just putting the damn things in the mail and mailing it out, why can't we just do that the same way we're doing it?
Well, even our water and sewer billing council goes through Kelly and Ryan, so.
Oh, they do?
They do.
And how much do we pay them for this, do you know?
I would have to get you a firm cost on
Okay,
that.
that would actually help, because
yeah.
I think it would help us in that. I noticed from the list that you sent us that some communities are paying more than the $6 that our communities are paying for. Now, how is that determined? Is it something that the communities themselves just decide, oh, it's going to be X, Y, and Z in order to cover these expenses?
That depends on, it depends on the backlog of work they have and what the city can stand. I know there's something like Newton started theirs in 2016.
How much?
Newton started their work in 2016 on this. I don't know whether they charged residents, but they are going above and beyond what EPA wants them to do.
Well, Chike, I think we have to kind of be a little honest here. Newton is pineapples and we're apples, so it's not the same great comparison. I think what Council Manicelli was saying is that we need to find out what the Fall Rivers of the world and the New Bedfords and the Lawrences and the Lowells, those are more comparable communities than ours versus Newton and Wesley.
They are charging a lot more than the city of Brockton is charging.
They are?
Yes.
But they can afford it. They're richer.
Huh?
They're richer. They can afford it.
Fall River charges about $140 for single family a year.
1.3? $44. I think I saw Fall River on that list, but I'm talking about like.
I mean, every community is different, Counselor. I'm not going to sit here and say that every community is exactly the same. There are communities like Fall River that have different issues. They have systems that are combined so that their water and sewer, their stormwater and their sewer are still in a combined system. So that fee structure may look high, but I don't want you to get confused in the comparison. They pay a lot more, but they're dealing with a lot more too, so.
Okay.
One of the requests that Councilor Farwell made that we will fulfill is to try to obtain an expanded list of communities beyond the ones we provided to you. Data we got from the Commonwealth, we will try to get more
Troy, I actually would prefer, instead of giving us 350-something communities in Massachusetts, to give us just the gateway cities. Instead of all the other little, I don't want to know what Avon is paying, because that should be what Brockton High should be paying. Because there's more kids at Brockton High than there are people in Avon. So I wanted us to look at comparable cities in terms of population, income, and things like that, not these little towns. Because that makes absolutely.
Gladly do that.
So I don't know, Council Fowler, do you agree with that?
I agree.
Yeah, so comparable communities or even the gateway cities would actually be useful. The last thing I have on this list here, and my apologies for not looking at the budget a little, when I saw when we were discussing the budget a couple months ago, didn't really look into stormwater because we had nothing going with stormwater, but I just realized that we have a separation cost on the stormwater budget. Now, how can we have separation costs for something that we haven't even implemented? Do you see that, $27,500 and something dollars?
Yes. The reason for that, Counselor, is that many of the employees, if you look at the employees in the list of those in stormwater, many of those were existing employees, so they're not all brand new employees. So one of the advantages of the enterprise fund is it's relieving some of the responsibility for the general fund to pay some expenses. And so some of the employees under the enterprise have been city employees for a very long time. One of them since 1959. So the separation costs were built into the budget because there are employees of the larger Department of Public Works, but now through the Stormwater enterprise that are eligible to retire. And since they're now employees of the Stormwater enterprise, then the enterprise should bear those separation costs.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying as far as the taxpayers are concerned or the ratepayers are concerned, we haven't even started this. This is the first billing cycle for the stormwater. So if it's just the first billing cycle, why is it that there's already, gazillions of expenses associated with an account that we just started?
Well, because that's the way an enterprise fund works, is that it absorbs the expenses of the enterprise.
Mr. Clarkson, I understand that, but I'm talking about the optics. The optics of the fact that we just started, the first billing just went out, and yet there's already a cost associated with that account in tune of $27,000. You probably, half of the people haven't even paid that bill, because I know I haven't. So you're already kind of amassing an expense for something that hasn't even started. Do you see what I'm saying? As far as the optics are concerned.
I do, and I understand the optics. I think in any time we create an enterprise fund, there are both revenue and expenses that transfer to that. We also created an enterprise fund for the parking authority. I don't recall off the top of my head if there were separation costs in there, but if there are employees that are eligible for that, then they would be reflected in there as well. So because these employees, and as you can see, they are shared only a portion. If you look down at those budgets, the costs are split between stormwater and the regular DPW budget. And so if there are portions of those separation costs that should be captured depending on who the employee is and what their percentage is, then they would be borne by the general fund as well. It just depends on which of these employees is eligible for retirement and how much of their work is dedicated to the enterprise. So as you can see, where it says 100% SW, those employees are paid 100% out of the enterprise fund. Some of them say 25% SW, 75% ENG. That's the engineering department. So if those employees were eligible for separation costs, then you would see a tandem amount in the engineering budget that would absorb that portion of it. So the stormwater enterprise is only being asked to cover the amount of cost that's directly related to the stormwater operation.
And lastly, I think just to follow up on a question that Council Farwell brought up, what about the city? Does the city pay into this particular fund? The city owns a ton of land, and a lot of this water is running into the same creeks and ravines that my water is running to. So why doesn't the city kick in a percentage of funds into that particular fund so that perhaps we can lessen the blow to the taxpayers of the community?
So that is a policy question that I think we still need to work out. As the bills were sent out, next time you come into my office, on Evan's desk, there's 2 stacks of bills about that high that represent the bills that came to the city from the stormwater enterprise. I think we still need to have some discussions, and that's the big we, on that policy question as to whether or not the city should pay itself. Different, I can tell you, based on my experience, different municipalities handle those general policy issues in different ways. Like, do you charge for water and sewer to other municipal departments? Do you charge for building permits? I think we need to still have some discussions about what the city's responsibility should be for paying those stormwater bills, and we just haven't had those detailed discussions. So GK and Pat and I need to have a discussion with the mayor and with the law department and really work that out, because I believe, and this is my professional opinion, I'm not representing either of the gentlemen sitting next to me, that we have a lot of administrative effort in this city that goes to moving money around between departments. It's a little different for an enterprise fund, I recognize that, but this enterprise pays an administrative fee back to the city. So I think before we answer that question fully, we need to do a lot of work and really decide if it's in the city's best interest to make those payments and what's the administrative cost to doing so, and the budgetary cost. So the jury is still out on that question, Councilor, but we'll keep you in the loop as those discussions ensue.
Well, the judge has called in the jury, so we have to kind of bring the jury in and have a discussion on this, because as I see it, and to go back to what Councilman Minicelli was saying, this is not a shall, but may. But once we embarked in that particular dive now that we're into, what happens if later on the EPA comes down and says, well, you know what, your river is not clean, your ravine is not clean, and the responsible party might be the city. So if the city is actually with the biggest pot of lands in the city should assume some responsibility, because I don't want it to come back to the taxpayers or the ratepayers to say, oh, by the way, instead of $6, it's now going to go up to $10 because we are dirtier than we should be. So that's why I think you guys need to seriously think about that and have a discussion on that and come up with some sort of an answer for us. But at the same time, please keep that in mind in terms of the projects. I think you got to come back with a project to say this is what we need to do, because it lessens the blow for us to go out and explain to the ratepayers in this community that, you know, your funds, that this $1.5 million that's generated annually is going to go for some positions that we have to hire, but at the same time for projects A, B, and C. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Judge Rodriguez.
You're welcome.
Counselors, that's all I've got for counselors on my list. The question comes on adoption by a hand vote. All in favor? All opposed? It is adopted. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. Mr. Clerk, I believe we are at item number 12.
Report of the Public Safety Committee for its meeting of June 30th, 2022.
Accepted and placed on file.
Report of the Finance Committee for its meeting of July 18th, 2022.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communications from the mayor appointing Ruth Moore of Brockton, Mass. to the Women's Commission for a 3-year term ending July 2025.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor appointing Christina DeRome of Brockton, Mass. to the License Commission for a 3-year term ending July 2025.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor appointing Adewumi Olawatoyan of Brockton, Mass. to the Women's Commission for a 3-year term ending July 2025.
Accepted and placed on file.
From the mayor appointing Lawrence Shadzuski of Brockton, Mass. to the Elections Commission for a 4-year term ending July 2026.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor appointing Sandra Chatton of Boston, Mass. to the position of Director of Human Resources for a 3-year term ending in July 2025.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor advising that effective July 1st, 2022, Sandy Chatton has been appointed as Acting Human Resources Director for the City of Brockton pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 61A.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the DPW Commissioner requesting that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $50,000 for snowplows.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the acting chief of police requesting authorization to expend a donation from the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office in the amount of $5,000 to be used to offset the cost of training and caring for Brockton Police Canine Comfort Dog Bonnie.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the police grant coordinator relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the acting police chief requesting authorization to expend $96,500 in grant monies awarded by the Executive Office of Health and Human Services, Department of Mental Health as part of the fiscal year 2023 Massachusetts Jail/Arrest Diversion Program.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Police Grant Coordinator relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and placed on file.
Unfinished business, we have the appointment of city...
President.
Counselor Farwell.
Mr. President, I move that after reading items 31, 32, 33, and 34 be voted on collectively.
Is there a
Second.
Motion has been properly made and seconded. All in favor of taking these items collectively? All opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Clerk.
Item 31, appointment of City of Brockton School Police Officer. Alicia Fernandez of 56 Ford Street, Brockton, Mass. as a Special Police Officer. In City Council, June 27, 2022, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable. We have the appointment of Rita Spinola of Brockton, Mass. to the Women's Commission for a 3-year term ending June 2025. In City Council, June 27, 2022, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable. We have the appointment of Scott D. Ullman of Brockton, Mass. as an alternate member of the License Commission for a 3-year term ending June 2025. In City Council, June 27, 2022, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable. And we have the reappointment of Sonia Dixon of Brockton, Mass. to the Women's Commission for a 3-year term ending June 2025. In City Council, June 27, 2022, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Councilors, the question comes on confirmation by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
D'Agostino?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Minicello?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The appointments are confirmed. Congratulations.
Item number 35, ordinance. An ordinance amending the zoning map for parcel IDs identified from C2 zone to C5 zone. In City Council, February 14th, 2022. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Ordinance. Postponed from ordinance meeting, March 29th, 2022, to the next ordinance meeting. That report was favorable. In City Council, June 27th, 2022. Passed to a third reading by a hand vote.
Councilors, the question is on ordination as amended by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
D'Agostino?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Minicello?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
Oh, yeah, sorry, the ordinance is ordained.
Item 36, ordinance. An ordinance amending the C5 zone, office zones to add research and development, office or laboratory, independent senior residential, assisted care senior residential, business incubator, and agricultural greenhouse to the list of principal permitted uses. In City Council, February 14th, 2022. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Ordinance. Postponed from ordinance meeting March 29th, 2022 to the next ordinance meeting. That report was favorable as amended. In City Council, June 27th, 2022. Passed to a third reading as amended by a hand vote.
Question comes on ordination as amended by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
D'Agostino?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Minicello?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The ordinance is ordained.
Item 37, ordinance. An ordinance relative to permitting and regulation of food truck operations in the city of Brockton. In City Council, April 11th, 2022. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Ordinance. That report was favorable as amended. In City Council, June 27th, 2022. Passed to a third reading as amended by a hand vote.
Question comes on ordination as amended by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak?
Yes.
D'Agostino?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Minicello?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The ordinance is ordained.
Item 38, ordinance. An ordinance relative to zoning regulation and operations of food truck in the city of Brockton. In City Council, April 11th, 2022. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Ordinance and Planning. That report was favorable as amended. In City Council, June 27th, 2022. Passed to a third reading as amended by a hand vote.
Question is on ordination as amended by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak.
Yes.
D'Agostino.
Yes.
Farwell.
Yes.
Lally.
Yes.
Mendez.
Yes.
Minicello.
Yes.
Nicastro.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
Yes.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The ordinance is ordained.
Item 39, ordinance, an ordinance amending adult use of marijuana zoning ordinance relative to regulation and zoning of marijuana delivery in the city of Brockton.
Question?
In City Council, April 11th, 2022, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Ordinance and Planning. That report was favorable. In City Council, June 27th, 2022, passed to a third reading by a hand vote.
I jumped the gun there. The question is on ordination as amended by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak.
Yes.
D'Agostino.
Yes.
Farwell.
Yes.
Lally.
Yes.
Mendez.
Yes.
Minicello.
Yes.
Nicastro.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
Yes.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The ordinance is ordained.
Item 40, ordinance, an ordinance to remove outdoor seating from zoning ordinances in the city of Brockton. In City Council, April 25th, 2022, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Ordinance and Planning. That report was favorable in ordinance, unfavorable in planning. In City Council, June 27th, 2022, passed to a third reading by a hand vote.
The question is on ordination as amended by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak.
Yes.
D'Agostino.
Yes.
Farwell.
Yes.
Lally.
Yes.
Mendez.
Yes.
Minicello.
Yes.
Nicastro.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
Yes.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The ordinance is ordained.
Item 41, ordinance, an ordinance to establish licensing and operations of outdoor dining in the city of Brockton. In City Council, April 25th, 2022, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Ordinance. That report was favorable as amended. In City Council, June 27th, 2022, passed to a third reading as amended by a hand vote.
The question is on ordination as amended by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak.
Yes.
D'Agostino.
Yes.
Farwell.
Yes.
Lally.
Yes.
Mendez.
Yes.
Minicello.
Yes.
Nicastro.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
Yes.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The ordinance is ordained.
Item 42, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $250,000 from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Community Compact Municipal Fiber Grant Program, FY22 Executive Office for Administration and Finance Grant Program, $250,000 to the City of Brockton Information Technology Department, FY22 Executive Office for Administration and Finance Grant Program Fund. These grant funds will allow for the replacement and upgrade of fiber that connects the two main data centers used for police, fire, city hall, and emergency management services for communication and dispatch. In City Council, June 27th, 2022, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Questions on adoption by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak.
Yes.
D'Agostino.
Yes.
Farwell.
Yes.
Lally.
Yes.
Mendez.
Yes.
Minicello.
Yes.
Nicastro.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
Yes.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The order is adopted.
Item 43, ordered that the City Council hereby declare the city-owned parcels located at Petronelli Way and Franklin Street, having parcel identifications of parcel ID 109-074, Lot B, and parcel ID 109-075, Lot E, as surplus, and that the Mayor of Brockton is hereby authorized to transfer the same to the Brockton Redevelopment Authority in furtherance of the Downtown Brockton Urban Development Plan, as approved by the Brockton City Council on July 25th, 2016, in order to accomplish the modifications to the new road, Marvelous Marvin Hagler Way, and the planned Pocket Park. In City Council, June 27th, 2022, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
The question is on adoption by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Azak.
Yes.
D'Agostino.
Yes.
Farwell.
Yes.
Lally.
Yes.
Mendez.
Yes.
Minicello.
Yes.
Nicastro.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Tavares.
Yes.
Texera.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
11 in the affirmative.
The order is adopted.
Item 44, resolve. Be it resolved that a designee of Neighborhood Health Center be invited to come before the Finance Committee to discuss mental health services offered and upcoming mental health initiatives. In City Council, June 27th, 2022, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Question is on adoption by a hand vote. All in favor? All opposed? The order is adopted.
Item 45, new business, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $50,000 from Massachusetts Department of Transportation, MassDOT fiscal year 23 Shared Streets and Spaces Program Grant, to the Department of Public Works fiscal year 23 Shared Streets and Spaces Program Grant Fund. These grant funds will be used by the Department of Public Works to purchase snowplows.
That is referred to finance.
Item 46, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $5,000 from Plymouth County District Attorney's Office fiscal year 23 Drug Prevention Education and Awareness Program Grant, to the Brockton Police Department fiscal year 23 Drug Prevention Education and Awareness Program Grant Fund. These grant funds will be used by the Brockton Police Department for the care and training of Brockton Police Department's Comfort K-9 Bonnie, who provides emotional support for the well-being of drug-endangered children, students with adverse childhood experience, ACEs, and others that require that service.
Referred to finance.
Item 47, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $96,500 from the Executive Office of Health and Human Services, Department of Mental Health, fiscal year 23 Massachusetts Jail and Arrest Diversion Grant Program, to the City of Brockton Police Department fiscal year 23 Massachusetts Jail and Arrest Diversion Grant Program. These funds will be used to pay for crisis intervention team training and mental health first aid training for Brockton police officers. There is no match required.
Referred to finance.
Resolved to invite Acting Chief Brenda Perez of the Brockton Police Department and Chief Brian Nardelli of the Brockton Fire Department and/or their designees to appear before the Finance Committee of the Brockton City Council to discuss the work of the Fireworks Joint Task Force, including, without limitation, number of calls received by its hotline, number of visits to city properties, amount of fireworks confiscated, their opinions of the effectiveness of the task force, to reflect on what has been learned and what will be implemented in the future.
Referred to finance.
Resolved to have representatives of the Greater Brockton Minority Business Association, GBMBA, appear before the Brockton City Council to help bring awareness to their efforts to assist the minority business community in the city.
Referred to finance.
Resolved to have representatives of Moms Demand Action Organization appear before the Brockton City Council to help bring awareness to their campaign to educate the public on gun safety.
Referred to finance. Councilor Farwell.
Mr. President, I would move introduction of a late file for the benefit of councilors. It's an ordinance that would allow for a $25 daily food sale permit. Right now, if you want to sell food at Provo for just one night, you have to pay $125. Or if you went to some other event, you'd have to pay $125. And I'm trying to get the fee down to a manageable amount for those who just want a one-day permit. So that's what's coming up.
Is there a second? Motion's been properly made and seconded to introduce a late file. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Clerk.
Ordinance, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Brockton as follows, that the City Council adopt the following amendment to Article 11, Board of Health, Section 11-181, License Fees, to include a $25 fee for a one-day food prep and service permit.
That is accepted and placed on file?
Refer to ordinance.
Referred to ordinance. Sorry, I missed the first part.
That's all I've got.
All right, councilors, we've got no other late files. All right, in that case, I have a moment of personal privilege, Counselor. I want to say, just as a point of housekeeping, our next meeting will be the Finance Committee meeting on August 15th. Additionally, two things going on in the community. Brockton Police National Night Out 2022, August 20th, 2022, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. down at the Brockton Fairgrounds. They'll have face painting, arts, crafts, a lot of different food and ice cream. Something that, really great to check out and, come meet members of the department. Additionally, there will be a Ward 6 ward meeting Thursday, August 18th at 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Ashfield Middle School. We will have the Chief Budget Officer of the school department, Aldo Petronio, and the Chief Financial Officer, Troy Clarkson, who's just here. They will come in. They're the architects of the budget. They're going to explain it soup to nuts to the general public and take questions. And that's going to be the, the main item. That's all I've got for you, counselors, for your own moments. Counselor Farwell.
President, I apologize. I was asked to announce that this Saturday there will be a Make a Difference mural event at Brockton Community Access from noon to 4 p.m. Mayor Sullivan's Wellness Trust team, in collaboration with Brockton Community Access and 24-Hour Power, will be at Brockton Community Access, 1 North Main Street, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. this Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And there's something for the Poet Laureate at 11 or 10?
Yes, there'll be a formal introduction of the Brockton Youth Poet Laureate at the East Side Library at 2 p.m. on the 30th, which is Saturday.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Azak.
Thank you. I would just like to announce that this Sunday, July 31st, from 2 to 8 p.m., it's the Cape Verdean Festival at the Arno School. In how many years, Counselor? 28. 28 years, which is amazing. So hope to see everybody there. It's always a great event, a great time in the community. Thank you.
28 years is a very long time, Counselor.
We also have Cape Verdean Flag Day on Friday.
Cape Verdean Flag Day, Friday at 4 p.m.
4
at City
p.m.
Hall.
Yes.
And Peruvian Flag Day, Thursday at, I want to say 3 p.m. at
Thank
City
you,
Hall.
Mr. President.
Thank you, counselors. There being no other business of the body, we are adjourned.